the Cannabis Business Coach.
Hi, Mike Z here, author of the Cannabis Business Book, and you're listening to the Cannabis Business Coach podcast, where I chat with and coach the highest performing entrepreneurs in the cannabis industry.
Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is the Cannabis Business Coach.
Hi, Mike Z here, and on today's episode, I'm joined by founder of the Asheville Hemp project and a pioneer in sustainability technology, in particular green building and architecture, the one and only Leslie Hoffman, my dear friend. Thank you for joining us, or me, and the imaginary us that's listening in the future. Leslie, thank you for being here. I would love
you,
it.
Mike, for having
Oh,
me.
thank
It's a
you.
nice break from farming.
Nice. Can you tell the folks a little more about yourself and your illustrious experience in the hemp world?
Well, sure. I mean, I'm OG, right? I've been in love with this plant and had respect for the cannabis plant I realized not so long ago, like before my first real in love boyfriend, I've been in love with cannabis. So like, okay, an old lover. And I've been a passionate gardener since I was in my 20s. And I bought a small farm on the big island of Hawaii, which I owned for about 31 years, sold it in late 2015. And so I had an introduction to the plant when I was in college. I became a passionate gardener. I get a farm in Hawaii and I meet some of the old advocates, you know, people who went to jail, people who were guerrilla farmers. And I learned the history of the cannabis prohibition and all of the issues tied to that connect to racism and, you know, jazz music and black folks and marijuana because it was Mexicans, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, ooh, this is deep, right? And I went to work in late 1993, early 94 for an illustrious labor mediator in New York City running his foundations. So I had a philanthropist checkbook, right? I produced projects, as you mentioned, all focused on sustainability, but I had the opportunity to make some contributions towards drug policy reform. I mean, before there was the Drug Policy Alliance, I was supporting Ethan Nadelman's work at the Lindesmith Center at Princeton University. So I've been connected to it, supportive, push in the right direction, never particularly worried that I was going to end up going to jail, but understood how wrong it was. And so I had this notion as a gardener, free the plant, right? And in the early 90s, I would say it was 94, 5, I met an interesting Jamaican fashion designer. And together with one other person, we created a hemp fashion company. So that was my first sort of business relationship to cannabis. The fashion business is a tough one. So I have to say, you know, 2 seasons in, when Woody Harrelson came into the store called Planet Hemp in Soho and bought the whole rack out, I turned to my partners, I said, we're out of the fashion business. I mean, this is crazy. And then, you know, my day job was based in New York, although working internationally and certainly nationally, promoting sustainable technology across a wide range. I mean, from turning food waste into renewable natural gas to local and sustainable farming initiatives with support from folks like Quaker and Bank of America and Lexus. And we did a lot of sustainable textile work with the fashion industry. But I wasn't really paying attention to the legalization movement much. I was vaguely aware that California had a medical program, and I'm not a medical patient other than an occasional checkup. So it didn't really touch me. And in 2015, a former employee of mine and a friend was talking to me, and he said, I know these guys in New Jersey, and I think you'd really like what they're doing, and I think you could really add some value. And he introduced me, and in late 2015, I went to work for one of the 6 original vertically integrated medical marijuana companies in New Jersey, which I have been doing since then. In 2015, I decided to buy this farm where I am now outside of Asheville, North Carolina, mostly because it's closer and a little more manageable for staying connected to my New York life. And in late 2015, the end of December 2015, I actually sold my farm in Hawaii after 31 years. So I was in the industry in New Jersey. When I went to work in New Jersey, I rented my little log cabin, which is where I'm sitting here, because I needed to be back in the city. And my tenant came to me in 2017 and he said, I know you're in the cannabis industry, and North Carolina just opened up for applications for a pilot program growing hemp. And I have 23 acres, and I've had cows running on it for the last 35 years here, so fertile. And, I said, yeah, sounds like fun. Let's give it a try. And my partner is Scott Brinkley, who is a scientist, a soil scientist, actually, had grown cannabis previously. So he took on the farm field work, and, I supplied lots of support. And then in 2019, we incorporated the Asheville Hemp Project and decided to launch a consumer packaged goods company. So we have 4 products, and here we are.
Wow, so cool. I want to ask you about the Asheville Hemp Project, and a little more about why you decided to actually go and start a CPG brand, and kind of a little bit of the motivation there. And also I have like a bunch of other questions about, the future of hemp sustainability and hemp textiles and all that other stuff. I'm wondering if you're still very much involved in those worlds.
Okay, I'll start at the top and work to the end, or I'm happy to answer anything, of course. So what motivated us, honestly, we were early, obviously, so we're in our 3rd season now, and it became clear as farmers and programs nationally, and then the 2018 Farm Bill passing, there's just a rush to growing. We're a small scale craft operation. We do operate sustainably. We don't use plastic in our fields, and we do a lot of handwork. So I know enough about agriculture to know big boys win. It's hard to compete against somebody who's got big equipment, flat, easy, irrigated land, etc. So we saw the handwriting on the wall, and if we didn't bring our product to market packaged as a brand, we really couldn't make economic sense of continuing to grow hemp. So that's a little tough. In addition to that, I had a point of view that's pretty well embedded now, starting with sustainability, and having done these other projects that I mentioned. So I thought through a brand we could share that point of view. And you'll notice that our tagline is look inward, look outward, and look homeward. And that's sort of a play on the open airiness of the tobacco barn, which you can see in that logo there. Looking inward, of course, is the self-reflective piece. And as a pioneer in sustainability, I've been very focused on consumption patterns and what drives them and where to derive value from that, and minimizing impact on the planet. Looking outward for us is largely about connecting to nature, and in this case, not only connecting to our place here, our plot of ground, but also connecting to the plant itself and the source of it, and knowing the source, sort of knowing your farmer, right? It's why we like farmers markets. You know the source of the food you're eating. So, and then Look Homeward is a reference to Look Homeward Angel, which is a book that was written by Thomas Wolfe in Asheville about Asheville.
Amazing. And Leslie, can you show us some of that packaging and
sure.
some of your products?
Sure. Here we go. Package. This is a 10-pack of pre-rolls. Well, let's see if I can quickly actually open one, because it's all very, and our goal, Mike, is to do a handcrafted grow, and then we work with GMP compliant manufacturers so that our products meet the expectations of a modern consumer on a shelf. And that's for freshness, safety, consistency, etc. And so this is a straight pre-roll, hemp from our field. And we developed a proprietary crutch that is not filtered, because we did a little reading and realized that 30% of the cannabinoids are filtered out when you use a filter. So then you say, well, wait. Even, I mean, forget the acetate filters, which end up on the ground and, never to decompose. And then, of course, you've got these days an eco filter that does decompose, but it's still filtering out the CBD or other cannabinoids that you might get. So we innovated, came up with this crutch. So it gives you a nice thing to hold and yet doesn't block out the cannabinoids, and it's all food grade and biodegradable. And another one of our products, it's a little unusual. This is a CBD gum. It has no THC in it at all. It's a very normal mouthfeel. It's 5 times more efficient, because as you're chewing, your salivary glands are getting activated, and that saliva is what takes up the CBD into your system. So it's a mint flavor. It's packaged, you can see it there. You just, one at a time, little bullet there. People love it. And, for people who don't like to smoke but want CBD, it's a nice option. We, of course, have the obligatory extract product, but we blend ours with an olive oil so that its flavor profile is compatible with food, tastes good. And then we have one product that has no CBD in it at all, but it's this delicious, fabulous, certified organic hemp seed oil lip balm. And that's been a big hit as well. And of course, what we're trying to do is not only provide customers with a wide range of products, all of them are compliant, third-party tested, but the extract and the smokes have less than 0.3% THC. The gum, as I mentioned, has no THC, and this lip balm has no CBD or THC. So in addition to giving customers options, what we're doing is giving retailers an opportunity to engage with hemp products that they may not yet have policies to support.
Awesome.
Like, yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, kudos to you for getting all of those products out there. And I want to ask you, shifting gears a bit, about 2020, which has been, a wild, interesting year. And I'm curious, I'm curious how
Yes.
how your business has been affected by all the madness of this year, if at all.
It has, certainly. I mean, this is a weird climate to be launching a consumer packaged goods company, right? You can't make meetings, nobody's shopping in stores, retailers are, afraid to go to their offices. So that's been incredibly challenging. And on the other hand, I would say what it has done is it threw me onto the farm. It was sort of the obvious thing is, okay, if I'm not making meetings in New York, get my ass down to the farm and bend over and start working, So that's been helpful to Scott, of course. And we've done a lot of planning on the farm this year. And because of COVID, we planted a big victory garden, so it'll be full of food, and we've also mixed it up with flowers. In addition to hemp flower, we're also growing lots of other flowers, including poppies and tobacco and a few other flowers. So we're beautifying like mad. And so the lack of ability to have meetings has been hard, and yet the lack of ability to have meetings has said, okay, we're all getting more efficient. We're doing lots of Zoom, and then sort of back to work. And I didn't mention it, but this is a 1935 small scale, sort of typical from that time, tobacco farm. So in addition to all the handwork in the field, we dry and cure along the lines of and using the infrastructure of this old tobacco farm. So growing tobacco is playing into that a bit.
Wow.
So it's both challenging and life goes on. I mean, I'd say, COVID and Black Lives Matter and all of the dynamic that's been going on that has impacted the first half of 2020 is significant. And then you realize, oh, nature doesn't wait. She's going on with or without us here. So we're, meeting the cycles of nature, which I hope to show you at the end of this. We'll take a walk in the field.
Awesome. Well, I want to shift back to the textile question, because I'm
Sure.
wondering, around hemp fashion, and when I think about sustainability, I have a friend who says hemp is the most regenerative natural resource or plant in the world. I think it's like water is number one and then hemp is number two. And
she's a blessing. Not to be ignored. Lots of potential. Lots of potential.
Right. So I wanted to ask you about, there's headlines in the last year or so about, Levi's switching from cotton to hemp, or at least some portion of it, Patagonia investing in hemp. I guess from your perspective, what do you see as the future of hemp and sustainability, and what will it take for some of these major corporations and major supply chains to replace less sustainable, less eco-friendly resources with hemp?
Okay, so there's a lot in there. First of all, I think some of the potential is huge. Some of it goes beyond textiles and will ultimately go to biofuels, food, obviously. I believe that building materials will be enormous. big industry. The issue is, and what's required, similarly for textiles, and I'm a textile junkie, you know, so I mean, I love textiles, fine textiles, all kinds of textiles, and certainly hemp textiles. Back in the day when I had ISM, our hemp fashion company, we were buying textiles out of China and Eastern Europe. The quality was questionable at best. You know, you'd unroll a bolt of fabric and you'd see big, you know, tears or problems in the middle of it. You think, wow, how could you, you know, quality control, zero. What's required is infrastructure, expensive infrastructure. So we're at the point where we're, you know, collectively as a community, we're doing research, we're doing pilot projects, but to really end up creating a serious hemp fiber building materials sector, there's going to be some big infrastructure that's going to have to be put in place, and that's going to require a lot of money. So I think it'll take some time. Textiles is an odd one, or a little different, let's say, because we dissembled our textile industry pretty much across the board in the United States, right? So, and shipped it to China and elsewhere, as did the Italians, as did other countries. So to rebuild a textile industry in the US, I'm not sure. Building materials looks like there's more money in it to me, and therefore the ROI will be better, right? And fuel, of course, enormous. But I think, you know, hemp for even, I see people doing animal bedding projects now. I think we've barely scratched the surface, lots to come, and all nothing but positive. I mean, it's biologically positive, ecologically positive. Putting farmers to work is a good thing always. And that's a whole sector, the ag sector has been decimated in this country, right? So bringing that back and encouraging more people to be farmers and to see a viable lifestyle in farming is great.
A few episodes back, I had Danny Danko on. We were talking about why everyone should grow their own pot and grow their own food. And he said, we need to make farming cool again. And I think that it's happening.
I've been working on that, Mike, for like 30 years. You know? I always kept thinking, come on, kids, come on. But, you know, here's the reality. You're at the mercy of the weather. It's extremely hard work. So farming easy is like, huh? Really? Huh? Show me. It's not. So we'll see. I mean, my real belief is you make it economically viable, people will do it. And it'll make sense. And there's lots of pleasure to be had in it.
So Leslie, let me ask you, you've had a lot of careers along the way to the Asheville Hemp Project, and you've had success in many different spheres of business and art and, you know, farming and this, that, and the other. So I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned along the way that you can share with, you know, younger entrepreneurs, folks like me who I've had the pleasure of being mentored by Leslie a couple of times over the years. And so I'm wondering, what are some golden nuggets that you can share?
I always try to encourage people to follow their passion. I think when passion becomes the fuel in your tank, the world will support you and you have a better shot at succeeding. And tenacity comes with that, right? You got to keep your head down and you got to stay focused. To be a successful entrepreneur, I think a little bit of monomaniacalism, you know, like don't get distracted by running here and running there and wanting to, you know, I hear that phrase balanced life and I think, yeah, okay, but you know, so the things I've been successful at, I had incredible passion for, stayed focused, and fell asleep at night thinking about and woke up in the morning thinking about, and sort of never ran out of the energy for. So that's a big one. Learn from people who are up ahead of you on the path. I mean, it's efficient, right? Like if you're a carpenter, you know, there's nothing wrong with being an apprentice. You'll learn a lot of tricks that would take you decades to learn by figuring out yourself. So I think that's certainly a key. And I've had a couple of mentors along the way who have encouraged me and shown me the way and supported me. And so I think finding mentors who can do that for you, you know, who can catch your vibe and not squash your hope or enthusiasm or passion, and who likewise get pleasure from giving that help.
Fantastic. And in case you want to go and learn from a bunch of people who are in the industry, who have been successful, and from all across the board, you can pick up a copy of my book, The Cannabis Business Book, on Amazon. And I profile and get the wisdom of over 50 cannabis entrepreneurs. So, and another big part of that is I encourage everyone, get a mentor, get a coach, learn from people that can accelerate your progress and invest in your success. So I totally am on board with everything you said, Leslie. And to shift gears, I want to ask you, how, if at all, in your experience, is the cannabis industry different from other industries you've been in?
Well, in many ways, it follows the normal path of business. So the rules apply, right? The notion that people can, you know, flip the rock over, crawl out from under an illicit world mentality and sort of jump into the legal cannabis space. I'm like, maybe you need some training in the normal ways we do business. So in many ways, that's, you know, consistent and normal. And I always say, to add to the earlier question that's relevant here, is hire people who have real expertise. Don't think you're going to know it all. You don't. And the younger you are, the less likely it is that you know a broad enough range of things to handle it all. On the flip side, how is the cannabis business different? I would say that, first of all, the passion for the plant, I've never seen anything like it, right? There are more people with deeper passion about the cannabis plant than any other industry I can think of. So people are leaping towards it. And that's not only to work in it or to be growers, let's say, or to be offering and delivering natural plant medicine, but also on the financial side. I mean, certainly there are some other sectors that have had their moments where money rushed towards them, but I've never seen anything like the cannabis space in that regard. It has also contributed to volatility. So the money rushes towards it, and then everybody gets nervous and they run away, and everybody who's in it stands there and says, what just happened, right? And business loves predictability. I mean, if you can find consistent methodologies, consistent sources of cash, you know, and the rules aren't changing every day. That's the other thing. The rules in cannabis are being developed on the fly. I mean, we're still in the process of passing the laws that make the plant legal everywhere in America, with and without THC. So challenging, extra challenging.
Absolutely. And that's another thing I say in the book. This industry is probably more difficult than any other industry you can be in right now, largely because of, first of all, the institutional bias against cannabis, in the form of
Right.
banking and taxes and all this other stuff. And the rules are constantly changing, which is like, a huge, huge pain.
And
Leslie,
costly,
oh,
costly, by the way.
indeed, indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. That's not an insignificant challenge. Leslie, I want to ask you, what's your superpower that's allowed you to achieve in many different industries and have, continued success and contribution in different spheres of life?
Well, I mean, I mentioned passion. It's key. I feel privileged to have been able to pursue my passion and to be successful pursuing passion. Um, I'm pretty down to earth, and that makes me easy in many ways and can traverse across boundaries and can kind of hang with many types in many places. And that perhaps has enabled me to go to, tippy top of the heap, running in New York City with the old guard, all the way to hanging with farmers on the Big Island or here in North Carolina or elsewhere. So I'm a big believer of just keeping it simple, keeping it real. I don't know if it's a superpower, but it sort of makes it all flow in a kind of chill way that works for me anyway.
Nice. So I'm hearing that you're super chill. It's
The OG chill. Yeah.
yeah. I wonder if the cannabis has anything to do with that.
Whether the cannabis actually supports it or it's why I went to it, who knows,
That's funny. That reminds me of once upon a time, a career or two ago, when I worked at Google. There was a company directory where you could look up anyone in the entire company, and everyone was encouraged to make a 3 to 5 word personal mission statement or mantra or motto type thing. And
Mhm.
so when you looked anyone up, it would be like their headshot and their mantra or motto. So if you typed me into the system, you would see, this grinning doofus face, and then underneath it would say, "Keep it real."
Oh, that's good. Yeah, well, so that aligns that to me. And then the other thing is remaining flexible. Like, don't be so high-minded that you can't be the person to grab a broom and sweep the floor, or you put me near a hoe and my first instinct is grab it and start looking for weeds, right? So that sort of willingness to span the full range of what's required to make something really happen.
Awesome. So let me ask you one more question before we shift into the coaching part, which
Sure.
is, what advice do you have for people who are trying to get into the industry or trying to get started, or maybe are afraid to get involved but have that passion and don't know what the appropriate outlet for it is?
Well, I would start with learning, gathering information and knowledge, and you can do that. Look, you just published a book. There are several others out there now that can be acquired. Do lots of reading, visit some businesses that do what you think you're interested in doing. There are a lot of networking events, or at least there used to be. And I think that's happening all over the country, right? Whether you're in San Francisco or LA or Chicago or New Jersey or New York or wherever else, even here in Asheville, North Carolina, there's a group of hemp advocates and legalization advocates and farmers who get together So meet the people in the biz, do your homework, learn as much as you can, maybe take a job. I've had people approach me like who want to do their own company, but are willing to take a job for a period of time, maybe even volunteer, you know. At that point, it's not about the salary, it's about the learning that you can do. So I think a lot of market research, meeting the people who are in it, and then finding the right niche, the right opportunity for the time in the place that you're in, so that you can build on your strengths.
Yeah. Excellent. I love that. And I just want to echo what you said about volunteering because or taking a job. I often also speak with people who either want to start their own business or want to be in the industry, but don't really have much cannabis education. And I always tell them the best investment you can make in your cannabis success or your cannabis career is investing in your cannabis education. And one of the best ways to do that is to just go and help an existing advocacy group or community organization or someone who's doing good work for the community and for the plant. And not only will you learn a bunch, you'll get some good connections. And when you're ready to apply for a job or start a company and then try to go raise capital, you know, you'll have some definitive proof that you have that passion and that you have that commitment and that you've paid some dues. So, you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just go and find someone who's doing good work and lend a helping hand. It will go a long way. So
Yep.
I remembered one other thing I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
So yeah, so I want to ask you about New Jersey because, you know, the expectation is that, you know, they're going to be voting on adult use this November. It's expected to pass. You know, the medical expansion from last year is still caught up in litigation, as I understand. And so, you know, and for those at home who may not know, New Jersey is projected to be, you know, the #2 sized adult use market after California, if it goes. And then, you know, of course, if New Jersey goes, which I believe it will, then New York is going to have to finally step up and put a real program in place. So I'm just wondering, based on the work you do out there, what are you seeing or hearing or expecting for the future of New Jersey?
I think it'll pass. I concur with everything you've said, Mike. And I don't want to, you know, overstep here. I think they'll kind of clunk along putting the program together. It'll pass, it'll be legal, and then they're going to have to come up with the regs. And to say they've been moving at lightning speed and been at the bleeding edge of thinking on it all would be a stretch, frankly. I mean, that program, initially, the medical program became legal in 2010, right? Signed into law. And I mean, it's still not got delivery. I mean, it's legally allowed, but the regs aren't in place. So therefore it doesn't happen, right? And in a way, COVID sort of forced them to jumpstart a few regs. At least they do curbside delivery now, for instance. But, you know, what I'd love to see is them to pull that commission together that is in the bill that passed to improve the medical program and issue more licenses. Get this industry going. Stop the long lines. Let's go, let's go, let's go. They'll get there. But, you know, and in fairness, I mean, I've never been, certainly never been an elected official, and I've never worked in government. It doesn't move quickly, typically. I mean, it takes emergencies to make them kind of go, oh my gosh, we got to get going here. We got a crisis. But it'd be nice if they had the enthusiasm to really, you know, pull it together and make it roll, make the industry strong.
Yeah. And I will add my slightly controversial viewpoint. And I say that very tongue in cheek, which is, we've seen now all of these states call Canada, and all of these governments and governors call cannabis essential. And
Yeah,
yet, when I look at my home state, New York, our medical program, it is so limited, and it really bugs me that there's literally millions of people who can benefit from access to cannabis medicine and something that we've deemed essential, and
right,
yet they're not doing anything to expand medical access, even because they're so concerned about, oh well, how do we get adult use, and playing the political game instead of just doing the right thing, which is expanding patient access, which we know is going to have positive outcomes and with
right.
very little downside. So that grinds my gears a bit.
In New York, we still don't even have access to flour, right? It's all
It's
oils, which to me is ludicrous. And the other thing is, if you want to impact and bring down an illicit market, which is frankly un-American, right? to basically foster illicit market is crazy. The only way is to provide access, because
yeah,
the people will get their cannabis
right,
regardless of who they're getting it from, where they get it, and whether it's legal or not. That has been made clear over the last 70 years, right? I mean,
absolutely,
we know that. So
absolutely,
there, and I think most folks in government have now come to realize, yes, it's essential as a medical opportunity. And it's also, they're all counting the money before they even get the program rolling to collect it. So that's the other reason. And when I say it's un-American to support an illicit market, it's because you're not collecting the tax revenue.
right,
It's crazy.
right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right. It
Yeah.
seems we're on the same page there. So Cuomo and Murphy and all you other guys, stop stalling. Get some sense. Get some urgency.
It's probably more than just the governors, it's, yeah, you need the governor's support, of course, and then it's down in the ranks. It's like all of them get some urgency. Let's go.
Right.
Do the
Totally.
work. I get that there is work to be done, but do it. Stop arguing about it. Stop making us retell you 3 million times why it's important. Just get on with it.
Well, you see why these guys, the electeds, aren't farmers, because I don't think they like doing the work.
So we came back around to that.
All right, let's shift gears into the coaching. So, I gotta stretch and warm up. I gotta. Whew. All right, now I'm ready. So Leslie, let me ask you, what's your biggest challenge or roadblock in your business right now?
Let's see. Well, I talked about, this is the first time I have marketed ideas. I have had the vision for making the world a better place consistently, and have published books and been a speaker, and, done events at universities and with the media promoting big ideas. But I have never been in the consumer packaged goods world at all. So I've got a lot of learning to do around distributors and shelf space, and, supporting vendors with programs. So that's a steep part of the learning curve for me that I'm enjoying, but I'm not going to tell you I can't make a mistake or just don't always know the answer. That's a big one. There aren't enough hours in the day, but I don't think you're going to coach me to improve that part. Let's see. That's probably right now really, we make a special product that delivers benefits to people, so we feel strongly that we've got the goods, so to speak. And that leap from having developed the products, having grown the plant, and then getting these sealed packages onto shelves, that last hurdle is definitely a challenge for me.
Got it. So I'm hearing, just to make sure I'm hearing correctly and understanding you, it sounds like it's the distributor relationships and actually getting the product onto shelves. Is that right?
Yeah, that's really what we're focused on. In addition to farming, it is the distribution piece that's crucial.
So can you tell me a bit more about the roadblock, or what's the specific, challenge or sticking point for you?
It's probably, we've got some sales reps now. We have one distributor, and his parting words to me were, don't just rely on me, make sure you go out and get 10 more like me. And so finding them, and communicating the unique selling proposition of our products, and then navigating, of course, you've got all the folks who, don't want to carry THC. Okay, so that it's categorizing it so that we can, deliver the right products to the right distribution points or vendors, even, some of the large vendors, like supermarkets, for instance, they might take the gum and they certainly could take the lip balm. They're not going to sell even an olive oil based extract, typically. I think maybe a health food store, yes, but so it's just navigating that landscape. It's a place that for me, having a mentor would be a great thing. Somebody who says, boom, I know them all, here you go, call that guy, he's my buddy, perfect. Or, hey, that shelf display you created, nice, but make sure you also create individual packages that hang on a peg. I'm like, okay, what's a peg? Now I know. I've got a little box for the lip balm to go into, so it hangs on a peg.
Yep. Great. So I love that you went exactly where I was thinking of. And so I'm wondering, do you have a CPG mentor?
I don't have a mentor. What I do have, I have a marketing team that is international. They have offices in New York, Miami, and in Germany, and they know principally the beverage industry, but they're knowledgeable, and that is helpful. But to have somebody who really knows the American CPG world would be awesome. Would be great. I'm going to count on you, Mike. Send me one if you know.
So I know, well,
introduce me. You're not going to send them. Introduce me to them and see if I can convince them to help us. How about that?
sure. I have someone who comes to mind who's a distributor in the vape world.
Oh, okay.
And I think,
Interesting.
yeah, I'd be happy to introduce you. And I think he might have some good advice for you. He's run retail stores and smoke shops and like all that kind of thing, and has been in that space for, I would say, at least a decade. But beyond that's a no-brainer. I'm happy to do that. But
Thank you.
I'm willing to bet that in your network, the person, that CPG executive or veteran or whoever is in there, whether it's a first degree connection or a friend of a friend, I'm willing to bet that you already have that person in your ecosystem. And I'm my sense, my hunch is that you haven't really put a lot of time and effort into connecting with that mentor or advisor?
I'm gonna take that prod because, funny enough, I do have a friend who is a senior VP at Pepsi. I guess you don't get more CPG than that, do you?
Right. I hear that
She's gonna get a note after this.
There you go. I was about to ask, what's the action step we can get
Right,
to?
that's it. Right. You're gonna introduce me to the vape guy. I'm gonna send a note to my Pepsi friend.
That sounds good. It sounds like my work here is done. And so I'm ready to tour the farm. How about you, Leslie?
All right, I'm ready. Absolutely. I'm gonna pop that piece of gum in my mouth.
Nice. Amazing.
Okay. Little CBD for the walk.
There you go.
And when I get outside, I'm gonna slide on some sandals. And then I'm going to walk you down.
Awesome. Live from Asheville.
Live from Asheville. You got it. Let's see. See if I can, right there. Okay. These are our iconic tobacco drying barns.
Wow. You said the farm was from the 30s? Is that right?
Yeah, 1935.
Wow.
And you see the slab, right? Can you see that? How you can see right through the barn?
Yeah. What's the purpose for that?
Say that again?
Is there a purpose for that? Is there a reason for that, or?
Yeah, it enables airflow. See? But what I'm really taking you to see is some flowers and some hemp plants in the field.
Oh man, can't wait.
Yeah, there you go. It's tractor, rototiller, lawnmower. So this is a new flower bed I've been working on. See these plants here? These are nasturtiums. Yeah. Little. But those are tobacco. In fact, it's a variety called Only the Lonely. And these are poppies. Here, that's amaranth, sunflowers, Mexican sunflowers, zinnias. These are all flowers here. But check this out, Mike. These are CPG plants.
Oh man.
You getting the gist?
That's right.
Okay.
Look at those. Look at those.
Right? I mean, these plants, the stalks on these plants are incredible. I mean, look at that.
Wow.
Strong, healthy, 3 feet tall, some of them. So these fields are all planted. And way down there at the bottom, that big rectangle, that's our victory garden. Corn, beans, squash, tomatoes, basil,
Amazing.
beets, carrots, cilantro. Man. So have I convinced you to come to Asheville, Mike?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Tell your girlfriend, you get off this call. You tell your girlfriend, honey, we're going. I'm willing.
She'll be excited to hear that.
Yeah, cool.
Nice.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it was a pleasure being with you today, Mike.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much, Leslie. It was always great to chat with you, and I'm delighted that I got to see the farm, and I look forward to the day that I can visit in real life and walk the field with you.
Please come on down. We'll do a little barbecue, hang out.
Amazing.
The tobacco smells fantastic in the evenings.
Why is that?
The flowers put out their scent in the evenings.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So
Did not
there we
know
go.
that.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe pick a full moon night. Have some fun.
That sounds great. All right, Leslie,
All
thank you
right.
so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mike. Yep. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Talk
Bye.
soon.
Yep.
Ciao.
Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is the cannabis business coach. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is. Hi, Mike Z is
the Cannabis Business Coach.